Recently I was touched by a dog. It was abandoned by its owner at the airport for 2 years. Rain or shine, even after being chased away, being stepped on with malice, he still stood by his owner every day on time. The plane that left, and on the very day he was abandoned, the dog ran wildly after the plane. Passengers were looking down, only this man did not care. Yes, he was the dog's owner. The dog stopped the plane with his body, and ran to the side and called out loudly, "I hope the owner can hear me. Take him away with him." But the man who pretended to sleep could not wake up. Soon the plane took off. The dog could only chase after him on the runway. He wanted to return to his master's side, but the plane flew faster and faster, and finally it took off into the air, slowly disappeared out of sight. The dog was left alone and sad. Security personnel soon found it, and ready to arrest him. The smart dog realized that something was wrong, immediately turned around and fled. He got out through the broken hole. The security guards continued to pursue him. The dog kept running away, hid in the maintenance man bearded home. Security personnel then came to find the bearded man, and they already have a conflict, so they casually set a direction. Then the bearded man found the dog. The smart dog saw him coming, and gradually relaxed his guard. The bearded man brought him water, but the dog was suddenly alerted, immediately ran out. It kept running towards the airport, looking at the plane that was about to land. He thought his master would come back. Waiting for the plane to land, the dog went up carefully. He watched the exit of the plane with great anticipation, but the passengers came out one by one. His expectation also failed again and again. Someone accidentally stepped on his paw. He screamed out in pain. This caused people to panic. There was a lot of talk about whether it would bite someone. Security personnel arrived at the news. They were armed with wooden sticks. They kept threatening the dog. They herded him into the bus behind them. Then they were ready to get their guns to get rid of the dog, but the bearded man stopped him in time. At that moment a boy climbed into the car, slowly approached the dog, opened the car door in front of him. The dog immediately escaped. The security guard turned his anger to the boy, but never imagined he was the captain's son. Seeing how humane the dog was, the bearded man decided to take him in temporarily. That day the boy came to the airport alone. He hid in the landing gear of the plane. Unexpectedly, the dog came running, seemed to know that the boy was in danger, so he kept barking at him. This soon attracted the attention of the ground crew. The boy could only follow the dog and run away. When the captain's father found him, he was sleeping with the dog in his arms. It turned out that the boy's mother had died not long ago due to illness. He had been living with his mother. He had to come to his father's side, but as a captain, his father was busy at work. He could not take care of his emotions. The boy also showed great resistance, always trying to find a way to get out of here. He also blamed the dog for exposing him, but the bearded man told him, "The dog saved your life." Soon the dog ran out again. Every time this flight came in, he will go to the tarmac to guard. Two souls with no place to rest. In this moment, they missed the important person, the one who matters. The boy named the dog Palmer. He decided to stay and help him find his owner. This ball is the dog's favorite toy, but it became a tool for its owner to abandon it. The man tossed the ball into the distance, then immediately ran to board the plane. Palmer thought his owner was playing with him, but when he turned around, he saw that his master had already walked onto the plane. He could only watch. From then on, he stayed at the airport every day, waiting for his master to come back to pick him up. One day in the crowd, he saw a familiar back figure. It looked very much like its master, so he immediately chased after him, but in the end, it was too late. He could only continue to follow the bus all the way to the security checkpoint. The security guards chased after it, but it could not be stopped. It ran to the man's side, just licked his hand. Only then did he realize that he was mistaken for the wrong person. Palma looked at him with a helpless face. He couldn't hide the loss in his eyes. Soon security surrounded him, ready to catch him with a net. The boy saw that he had grabbed his weapon and went to help, and told Palmer to run. He threw his weapon at the security guard. The dog took the opportunity to escape the siege. He rampaged through the airport. It soon caused chaos. The airport supervisor was furious. The boy's father had to take the blame. To keep his iron job, he led the arresting team to his son. In the face of several men with sticks and ropes, Palmer was unable to resist. Even though the boy begged and pleaded, Palma was still taken to the car. This made the boy even more disappointed with his father. The flight attendant who was on the side of the plane could not bear it, so he gave the letter written by the boy to the captain of the plane. Back home, the father and son had a big fight. "Have you ever visited me once? You didn't even send me a gift." This made the man suddenly realize he had never really cared for his son. He took out the letter his son had written to his master in Parma, understood the original intention of the owner it was waiting for, and saw how hard his son had worked, and he destroyed it all with his own hands. And from this moment on, he decided to fulfill his duty as a father. He took his son and went to get Palmer back, but when he arrived, he learned that Palmer had escaped. He could have been freed. Instead, he turned around and headed for the airport. The boy also returned to the airport to look for him, but Palmer was nowhere to be seen. Just then the plane arrived. Two dogs met at the airport, but they are in completely different situations. Spotted Dog runs into his owner's arms, but Palmer was abandoned by his master. This scene cut his heart to the bone. He realizes that his master might not come back. His hopes were dashed. He had no more expectations. He started to become lethargic. He didn't eat or drink, and he lay down in his nest. The boy immediately called the vet for him, but the vet said he was ready to give his life to his master. This made the boy very sad. As the days went by, Palmer became weaker and weaker. It was as if he saw the figure of his master. He was walking towards him. Hearing the soft call of his master, he got up immediately and approached, but there was nothing in front of him. It was all in its imagination. It was raining heavily. Palmer was lying in the rain, letting the raindrops fall on her body. Then the boy came to her. Seeing Palmer in such a state, he wanted to take her home, let him start a new life, but no matter how hard the thin boy tried, Palmer did not move at all. He had already lost the faith to live. In order to encourage him to get back on his feet, the boy, who had also lost a loved one, began to tell his story. Palmer listened carefully. On this rainy night, one man and one dog healed each other. The boy took off his sweater and put it on Palmer, and so they did. They spent the night in the rain. The next day the boy was awakened by Palmer. His heart was finally answered. Palmer embraced the boy in her arms and followed him home, ready for a new life. While everyone was happy, the captain's father suddenly received a call, saying that Palmer's owner was looking for him. This news was instantly. It was hard for the boy to accept. The father had to explain to him, Palmer has been waiting for her owner. If you really love her, you should learn to let go. At the same time, he also felt very remorseful. At first I was so focused on my career. I was afraid that your presence would change everything, but now I'm happy. You've changed my life. I want to be the best father in the world for you. The barrier between father and son gradually melted away. Palmer, in the presence of many journalists, waiting at the airport for his master's return, his eyes were glued to the hatch. He seemed to have sensed. When his master called his name softly, Palmer was surprisingly calm. The scene he had imagined countless times. It felt familiar and strange, but he still returned to his master's side. The boy also had to leave sadly, and this was seen by Palmer. The father couldn't bear the boy's sadness, so he wanted to buy Palmer for a large sum of money, but the man said excitedly, it's not a matter of money. So this time he came back. Wasn't his original intention. He also wanted to let Palmer to find a better owner. It was the company that couldn't stand the pressure of the oratory. He was forced to take Palmer back. Everyone was there to witness this moment. Just as Palmer passed by the boy, he never looked away, but he couldn't break free from the leash. He was about to board the plane. Palmer suddenly turned around. She kept blowing at the boy. No matter how much the men dragged her, Palmer broke free, immediately ran towards the boy, but the security guard grabbed her. The boy was in a hurry and shouted for his father. This scene just saw him. He decided to gamble everything. He would never let his son down again. Palmer was forcibly dragged onto the plane, but the captain shut down the engines. The entire crew was united. They refused to take off on the grounds that Palmer was not vaccinated. They refused to take off. The men looked into Palmer's eyes and understood that it had found its true owner, so he unhooked his collar. At the end, one man and one dog embraced in the sunset. This movie is based on a true story. How many for children under the sun will meet someone like that boy? Palmer spent half his life forgetting the past, and then with a whole heart to meet the future. From the moment you decided to keep him, you are all he is in his life. Don't let him spend his life to make up for your irresponsible decision.